Good evening. Good evening, everybody. This is Big Cheds coming to you live. It's Tuesday, August 14th. Let's start off by taking a look at Bitcoin domination. Wow, 54.2%. So, if Bitcoin can somehow level off here and altcoins can recover, we'll see that number go down. And this is kind of a number a lot of people have been keeping an eye on. A lot of altcoin money is being pulled out of the market. So I think it's important to keep an eye on, this dominance number. Just a quick glance here at market cap. We'll get the party started. Keep an eye in the chat room for any questions you guys have. We'd love having you, of course. And I'm honored, honored to do this here for the members of Bitcoin Live. And we also have a question and answer post here where your questions, you've already kind of left your questions for me ahead of time. So we'll take a look at those as well. Just for a quick overview, we're going to take a look here at CoinMarketCap. Clearly, Bitcoin's been in a bit of trouble, but it's only down 2%. Only down 2%. As you can see, everything else is down quite a bit more. Altcoins are getting hit pretty hard here. But most everything else, is trying to stabilize. The major coins here are stabilizing just a little bit. And let's kind of take a look at that. That's CoinMarketCap. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Bitcoin daily chart. We have that beautiful head and shoulders pattern here that's been invalidated now. We've lost any kind of neckline support. And now we're really just hoping to hold maybe a double bottom. I don't know if we're going to get a higher low, but I think probably consensus, which doesn't mean it's right, but it's the consensus is we're going to test this low here, which is around 5,800. So we have to keep an eye on that. There's still, look at these volume candles. You see the big red. There's still quite a bit of volume, potential capitulation going on here. I'm seeing real weakness here in the oscillators. Nothing really, positive. A little bit of divergence here. A little bit, but not too much. So it still looks pretty darn bearish on the daily chart. We're watching to see if we can hold this level of support at the close. So the close in this candle was 58.48. And the low here is 57.80. So the absolute low that must hold would be 57.80. This is on the Bitfinex chart. That exact number will vary. What server, for example, Coinbase, low in Coinbase 57.90.01, and it was 57.80. So it's like a $10 difference, but it's basically the same low. So pardon me. So we're going to watch and see if we can hold this low here, the higher low. I'm just going to take a drink here. One moment, please. So that's kind of what we're keeping an eye on. Let's go in a little bit closer. We'll go 4 hour on Bitcoin. We're still on the Bitfinex chart. This black line is that level of support I indicated on the candle close that you really want to see hold. You could argue there's a little bit of bullish divergence here on the 4 hour. So if you take the lows here, we have flat lows. Okay, but we still have lower lows on price. That would be a bullish divergence. Let's pull it up. So, albeit weak, this is weak bullish divergence if we're using the on-balance volume. On the RSI, the relative strength indicator, clearly it's a little bit stronger bullish divergence, but I actually pay more attention to divergence with the OBV personally versus the RSI. I find the RSI will give you bullish divergence a little too early. So we're going to kind of keep an eye on that, the on-balance volume. If it were to break this support, that would be very bearish. That would suggest we still have some ways to go. You can see the green line, the 8 EMA, the exponential moving average. It's really not even pretending to get close to the orange line here, the 34. So I use an 8 and a 34 for a crossing signal. So you can see how the green right here, the green of the 8 EMA crossed over the orange 34 EMA, and that was that. That was a pretty good signal because you look what our gains were since then. What happened when it crossed back under right here? Okay, we've pretty much been in trouble ever since. So you didn't catch the exact bottom or the exact top, but if you were using that as a signal, you were lucky enough to have some little bit of strength and follow through behind that. So I think that's something to kind of keep an eye on going forward. Any kind of bounce here. So let's say we can kind of hang out and go sideways for a little bit. Watch for that green line, the 8 EMA and the 34. So keep an eye on that. Not super impressed though with the volume here, the buy volume. I mean, just capitulation. Bears are still pretty much in control, but bulls have a shot. That's kind of what I would have to say about Bitcoin right now. I mean, you'd have to argue we're probably in another bearish continuation pattern, probably a bear flag of some kind, maybe a rising wedge. Until proven otherwise. So we have this wick, we have the high of this candle, we have the high of this inverted hammer, 6180. So 6180, if you break that, that would be nice. That's something to watch for, but that's a logical point for it to get rejected here, if that's what's going to happen. So keep an eye on that one, short 6180. Let's just take a look at. So we did Bitcoin. Let's do Bitcoin Cash. Bitfinex. So the Bitcoin, I don't have it up here. Do I? BCH BTC. So the BCH BTC. So this ratio is now like 0.8. Like this thing is just getting killed, right? 0.08, which is basically 8% of Bitcoin. I don't know what it was before, 15%, maybe higher. But this thing is just getting decimated. You can see it right here. Look at these 4-hour candles. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, right? So 13 of the last 16 candles were red here on Bitcoin Cash. If you compare that to Bitcoin, I think Bitcoin's had a little bit better time here. A little bit, not much better, I guess. Yeah, maybe one more green candle. But the bounces, you've had some type of a little bit of a something, little bit of momentum. And Bitcoin Cash, you can see, right? It had a green, but there's nothing here. There's really nothing here. Right now, we can't break the 8 EMA. So there's a 1 rejection. There's a second rejection there. Kind of keep an eye on that. From here, I could dip below the lower Bollinger Band, potentially. But it is pretty oversold, 24 RSI on the daily. Okay. So that would probably suggest also here oversold triple bottom RSI. So, I kind of like trying to figure out when the bottom comes, even when it's really early. It does look pretty early. But you do have. I am interested by the single, double, triple bottom, right? Single, double, triple bottom, single, double. Whoops. Right? Lost it. Third one here in the on balance. You went lower. So that's the only thing that kind of gives me a little bit of caution. Like if we had held a triple bottom here on the on balance volume, that would have been really impressive. But the RSI held, and look, it was 20, right? So actually, you could see it can definitely go lower than 20. We've seen that. We saw 1 hour RSIs in the single digits in some of these altcoins last night. And I posted four alerts. I think 3 have done well and 1 has done really badly. So, and some of those had like 1 hour RSI, 8 or 9, really short-term oversold. So we can see. My point is, you see how it didn't dip below 20 here. So it really was a triple bottom on the RSI, but the on-balance volume wasn't able to abide. So we'll have to kind of watch here. It looks okay here. It's kind of flattening out. You might have like a nice rounded, like a nice Eve bottom versus an Atom, big V type bottom. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. That was the 4 hour. Daily just looks bad. and it's hard to know where the bottom is. Just as kind of a reference point, this most recent, right around there. So this was October, and it's October 300. So 300 is a very important level. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked to see it eventually get to 300 and bounce. But if you're wondering where's an area I'd really pay attention to, it would be 300, 305. Take a look at Ethereum. Ethereum is really oversold. Look at the RSI March. Look at the RSI now. I mean, it's only one data point, so it's just one prior time. But how about here? Okay, that was within an uptrend. Fine. How about here? Okay. I mean, that's, so now we've got a few data points. All right. So it's pretty darn oversold. So let's kind of look at prior support right there. That's something I would kind of pay attention to, and I would definitely pay attention to here. Okay. So pay attention to like that 260 level and the 220 level, 229 level. I just want to check with the chat room, see how everybody's doing. How's everybody doing? How's everyone? All right. So that's Ethereum. So I mean, it's oversold. It's hard to. I mean, you have that should suggest a favorable risk return. But we actually have increasing sell volume. So it's kind of counterintuitive. I mean, you don't really want to be starting. You scale in with increasing sell volume. Ideally, you'd be scaling in on decreasing sell volume near the completion of some type of a pattern. We'll just check out the 4-hour. And series of bearish consolidation and breakdown, bear pennant breakdown. And each time it just pushed lower. I mean, triple bottom, just like Bitcoin Cash. Although the on-balance volume looks worse here than Bitcoin Cash. Take a look. Here's Bitcoin Cash. It was almost a triple bottom. And Ethereum looks, just on that note, Ethereum looks weaker to me. So I would be careful, actually. Yeah, I wouldn't really look at it until like the 230 level, personally. Maybe kind of revisit it there. And Satoshi Litecoin. LCC USD, Bitfinex, okay. So we've got the RSI double bottom here on the daily chart. Maybe a triple bottom, but really double bottom. We actually broke that, or in the process of breaking that RSI support. Oversold, heavy sell volume, hugging the lower Bollinger Band, heavy weakness. That would suggest probably going lower. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the weekly chart. Makes it a little bit easier here for me to get a sense of what's going on. So this would be a logical level. If you look at this week here, July 3rd, the height, so like prior resistance becomes support. So this would be a logical level, the high 55. Dude, actually, I mean, there's a lot of support in this area. Look at the volume profile. I mean, there's a lot of support for Litecoin here. Clearly, it can go lower, but I don't think it's crazy to be, scaling. I don't think it's crazy to scale in here if you're patient. Because we're so oversold and there's just a lot of volume in this range. but it's still short term. Yeah, I mean, I guess you still obviously want to wait for a little bit more. I don't know. You want to buy into weakness, and this is weakness. So I think it looks pretty bad, but it's near historic support, and I mean, look how oversold it is. I think there's a decent risk reward in this 40 to 50 range short term. So that's that. Let's take a look at the. I'm going to take a look at the question. So let's see. This is from Ryan. Ryan says he entered the market in mid-February of this year and has been accumulating since. He thought he was going to be more of a trader, but he found that he did not have the time to dedicate to it, which is, to be profitable. I think that's a great point. He says, although my investment is down 60%, I feel that many of the projects have good potential in the next run. And so that's a great. I think a lot of people feel that way, and I think if you believe in fundamental analysis, if that's your approach to the market, it's not my area of specialty, so I don't talk about it so much. But if that's how you approach the market and you believe you're there, you believe in the technology and the future, you're able to kind of look back. If you say to yourself, I don't mind holding 2 years for it to come back again, if you think that's going to happen because you believe in the technology, that's your rationale, and it's your decision if that's how you want to approach it. I try to look more at like a probability scale, a risk reward, just based on generally speaking, that is price movement outside of a standard deviation. Is something really overbought? Is it really oversold? That type of thing. And Orion goes on to ask, are you holding any positions long term, or do you strictly trade what the market presents? I'd say a little bit of both. I personally am holding on to 2 or 3 projects, which I think have a decent chance. But other than that, I really just I mostly kind of like to jump in and out of the market when I see an opportunity. I find that I have less of a bias in one direction or another if my money's in the sidelines. It's just a human element, Ryan. And I appreciate your question. And all right. And Moglizaya asking, Cheds, can you create a post or a short video on how to short? That's something I can look into, to putting together, or perhaps reaching out to someone else to make that happen for you. I'll be upfront that this is not something I've spent a lot of time doing. Shorting, it's not something, just something I have a lot of experience with. I like to kind of be upfront with what I do and what I don't do. I've always been a long trader, and I could kind of help you with to identify positions where you might want to short. But I'm going to reach out to our content director, and we're going to make sure that you get that resource you are looking for. And I appreciate that. I'm just going to check in with everyone in the chat room. Glad to see you're doing well. Let's take a quick look, my friends, here at some of the more active altcoins. Now that we've covered those questions, covered the major coins, let's just go through and take a look at some of these altcoins. So clearly we did Ethereum Classic. Let's stick here on the daily chart for Ethereum Classic. I mean, clearly this is in a lot of trouble. I mean, this is just brutal. Steady sell volume. We're not seeing the volume taper off. It's notable that the RSI can still go lower. 4 hour. Trying to level off very early. Clearly, we're having trouble with this 8 EMA, the exponential moving average, is resistant for now. We'll have to keep an eye on that. We are quite oversold in this medium-term, short-term basis. We see a little bit of bullish divergence here on the 1 hour. We do have a kind of a nice little double bottom here, actually. on the 1 hour. But again, just now getting up over that 8 EMA. I want to kind of see that break with a little more volume. There's some conviction. Uh, we are, like I said, the divergence. The 1 hour looks okay, but it's very early. And the other one, the 4 hour and the 1 day, excuse me, are still bearish. So we have to kind of wait. If it is going to turn around, the 1 hour will kind of bleed into the 4 hour. And then on EOS. Oh, sorry about that. Obviously, you can find me on Twitter at Big Cheds. Once again, thank you for being a member of Bitcoin Live. EOS on the daily chart also, it looks like it's in a lot of trouble. Looks beat up, so to speak. It's a boxer here. We're looking at a boxer in like the 14th round. I guess you could say he's still on his feet, but I mean, we're barely able to break above the lower Bollinger Band here. I mean, that is bearish. We are, I mean, very oversold. I mean, 17 on the daily, I could go lower, I mean, in theory, but historically, I mean, wow, it was on a brutal sell-off from January to March, and the RSI got down to 20, and we've already broken that. So, I mean, unless there's something that I don't know, because I'm not a fundamental analysis guy, maybe there's something in the research that tells you this thing is going to zero. But if absent that, and the fact that we're near some support, this is an area of significance here back in March. It's where it bounced last time, so it could be a double bottom, even a higher low. So I mean, I actually think it's kind of worth watching, even as beat up as it is. That's my thought on that. The next one up is XLM, Stellar Lumen. Okay. All right. So Stellar Lumen. A little more consolidation here. This looks different than the other ones we've seen. We're seeing a little more. We're fighting, fighting to kind of maintain higher lows. And we have a nice low here on the daily chart. These March lows and these June lows, the higher low here in June. So we have an August. Now we have an August higher low, right? 30,000, 30,072. There was some rumor, I don't know if it was debunked later, about them talking to Facebook. I don't know who can kind of shed light on that. But that's something interesting to kind of keep an eye on. So we're seeing some nice consolidation here. And but the stochastics RSI being overbought, so to speak, kind of suggests to me that it may need to cool off here. Let's see. So basically what I'm trying to say is I think it might come back and test the low again. Because we do have a lower high, higher low. I think it might come back and test the low potentially. So you kind of want to keep an eye on this level here. It could be a nice little trade actually around 3140. Let's see. All right, the next one. All right, the next one is XRP. XRP, this one has definitely been kind of been through the ringer as well. So the question is, where is it going to find support? We are a tiny bit of divergence here on the RSI. And let's take a look here. Let's take a look here at prior support. All right. So 4,300. I mean, let's take a look. Let's go a little bit closer. See if there's any kind of short-term signs here of a bottom forming. Clearly, we're having problems here with the 8 EMA, the 8 exponential moving average resistance. Unbalanced volume is struggling. All right, folks, I'm going to wrap it up here on Ripple, and then I'm going to come back a little bit later. I understand we have another event here in just about an hour, so there'll be a little bit of a delay, and we'll patch the tape together. And I'll just be right back, folks, and we'll take it from here. Ripple, just before I finish here, Ripple, kind of watch this green line, 8 EMA. If it can break above it, it might, it will show a little bit more strength. And it kind of suggests that we may be taking those first steps to. All right. Take care, guys. I'll be back.